Welcome back to the AI Ripple Effect podcast, everyone. Today, we're lucky enough to be joined by Jeremy Armstrong, who's the VP of Solutions at LDK Logistics. Welcome to the podcast, Jeremy.
Hey, thanks a lot for inviting me, Adrian. Looking forward to a great conversation.
It's a pleasure to have you, and looking forward to it too. So, why don't we kick off, Jeremy, with a bit of background on yourself, your journey to where you are today, and also a little bit about what LDK Logistics do and who you serve from a customer perspective.
Sure. Quick snapshot of me is, so I've got a weird journey to get to the freight forwarding industry. I've been in freight forwarding for about 11 years, been in sales for 13. And despite being close to 50 years old, I started really pushing a pallet jack on a dock out of necessity when I had kids young. And so I had 4 kids by the time I was 27 and now have 7 grandkids. So all my kids are moved out. So I was a truck driver, worked on the dock, was a hostler, was a dock supervisor. I moved from the Portland, Oregon area to the Dallas, Texas market with FedEx to try and save my job during the great economy of 2008. I lasted there about maybe a year and a half, transitioned out of that and did some consulting for different owner operators for FedEx Ground and different things, and ended up being an owner operator in there and had some drivers and did different things with that. Really wanted to get out of that. I was doing okay, made pretty good money, but really was working too much, to be honest with you. And a buddy of mine got me into inside sales in a business-to-business lead generation company based just north of Dallas. Listen to that. So they were working with companies like Tata, Capgemini, Accenture, and finding leads for their sales team that were qualified leads. And most of the software that I was trying to connect for those guys was WMS, TMS related. So it was a natural fit for me because I understood the lingo. I just didn't know how to do anything in inside sales. So I got a crash course on that. And it was basically the equivalent of a quick bachelor's degree in a couple of years, I swear, because when you make 500 calls a week, you learn a lot. And then a buddy of mine worked for a freight forwarding company and started in there and really a sales role over there. So it's been 11 years with in the freight forwarding world. I've been at LDK for about a year. It was a strategic move for me. So LDK has been around for 26 years, and they're mainly known, it's a strange thing if you follow it, they're mainly known for selling white glove final mile services to freight forwarders. Okay, so they're a broker, and they've always had the freight forwarding side, had a couple customers, never really tried to grow it because they grew organically through freight forwarders who just call different branches from these global giant freight forwarders would call them and say, hey, we need 4 to 6 guys to come deliver this stuff inside, and we need a bunch of help, and we need specialized equipment, and it's got to be there at 5 a.m. and stay until you're done type stuff. And so they were already doing that. I got introduced to them from an industry friend, and really that's where the conversation started with those guys of, hey, let's grow the freight forwarding side. And so, you know, it was a great transition. It's been pretty dang busy despite the global economy right now. It's been pretty busy for us, and exciting times for LDK. I suspect that we'll grow this, and within 5 years, we'll be at a few $1 million. And the goal is, 5 years, and we probably better be about $7 million in 5 years just for the freight forwarding side. So we'll see how that goes. We're well on the way.
Revenue, is that?
Yeah, revenue.
Right, got it. Amazing. And so, how is your customer profile?
I do a lot of work in what most people would classify as electronics, which we would classify as so point of sale, right? So anything that's going into fast food, fast casual type restaurants, anything that has anything to do with, where you go and put your card in type thing. And those guys, everything's a digital screen now, and those things, those normally have to be delivered at a specific day at a specific time to meet the installers because they're doing it overnight. Maybe they're refreshing it. It's just on a schedule, right? Do a bunch of work with commercial AV integration. So think of your lights, camera action for churches and stadiums. And really it's the conference rooms inside of large companies, right? So those guys are refreshing that stuff to build the conference rooms. Large 98-inch displays or the wow factor that you see on Times Square. Those are all done by commercial AV integrators. In that same segment falls kiosks, lockers, and ATMs of all kinds. So we do not only the logistics portion of getting those there at a specific time, we manage the projects from beginning to end for all types of segments. So they tell us they have 500 locations. We give them the best way to do it. And for the kiosk lockers and ATMs, we install those things also and can move them and and house them and do different things with those. So it's a one segment where we can actually do some installations in those. And then there's quite a bit of work in the data center world, which goes along a little bit with the AV integration, but electronics too. And then, we're doing that for really the big four that are in the data center world in the US. And then we have retail, so retail fixtures, displays, those things, which is really a lot of it's going digital now. So it's been really good to see them come over to stuff that I know really, really well is the commercial integration side. And then the medical device space, there's always the little one-offs that are in there, different companies that do signage companies and those things that are in there. But really those 5 or 6 is where we try and focus right now.
Right. I mean, that's a great spectrum in the diversity of businesses. And from that exposure you're getting through that broad spectrum, both within your specific sector, but also touching on the wider logistics space, what are the key trends that you're picking up on, Jeremy?
It's been a weird environment for everybody really since COVID, right?
Yeah.
And, we had some of the most expensive freight rates that globally people have ever seen in about 21, right? It was very, very expensive to do stuff to now where it's really some of the best rates we've seen literally since before COVID for sure. And, I think the trend that we see and what we focus on here and what separates us is it's the service, right?
Sure.
So obviously we're talking about some AI stuff and how do we integrate AI into helping wherever we can. One of the problems that we have internally and companies like us have is we're always getting asked by the customer to automate things, do things, make things simpler. But the reality is there's no replacement for the relationships, for knowing somebody's name, knowing their birthday, knowing those things. Just for the relationships that are there, it's really the key to exceptional customer service. And that's really part of the trend that we're seeing is how do we implement where we can and not overdo it, because we don't have a recording when you call. There's no recording that's going to answer telling you to push 1 for this, 2 for that. You're getting a live person 24/7 that's going to answer the phone and is going to be able to help you and can execute a decision. So it's a little bit different than talking to a customer service person. So, but that's what it's where the transition becomes a little bit tough. And right now, I think that people are price conscious. They always are, but service wins out. We're never the cheapest, but our service is going to rock many of our competitors. It's just a different thought process.
Got it. And it's interesting you mentioned the drive from customers for efficiency. Is that because they're trying to manage and optimize their costs? Or are they just trying to improve efficiency to drive their own profits? What do you know, or have you picked up on the drivers?
So from my perspective and just what we've seen, I think that comes from, so I don't deal with a bunch of companies directly. So take somebody like McDonald's. Let's just take a global brand. You take somebody like McDonald's or PepsiCo. I don't necessarily work with them. I work with their customers. So I work with the AV integrator that's working with McDonald's. I work with the point of sale company that's working with McDonald's. And so what they want is everybody wants more visibility. Okay. So here's the deal is Amazon has set the standard globally for knowing when your package is going to be there. I mean, I can track the package that's coming when he's about an hour away. I can literally tell he's 6 doors down and stop to deliver my neighbors, and he's going to be here in 4 minutes. How do we relay that type of information in the logistics world? And we all know it doesn't exist like that. But how do we give as much information as we can and micromanage everything that is humanly possible so we have more data, more information than our competitors? Is how we win them out with global brands that we're dealing with, and put that into some portal, into a software to where we can all see it. Think about something like, how does McDonald's, okay, we'll just use them, get information from maybe the distributor that they're buying from. So pick a global distributor, somebody like Arrow Electronics or somebody. Pick a global distributor, or Ingram Micro is a better one. They're buying from Ingram Micro, but Ingram Micro might be asked to manage the whole project. So then they get the point of sale company in there, and then the point of sale company might be my customer. Right. So now we have 4 companies involved with there who all want the same data. And how do we do that? And everybody has a different idea, and the ability to scale that, pivot that, understand what the customer wants, and then create it from a software side on our end, because it all flows through us, is really the key.
Right. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, a fascinating perspective. And that data in itself is the foundation for effective deployment and usage of AI, right? So and that brings me nicely to the question I'd like to ask is what is your take on artificial intelligence in logistics in your specific space, but more broadly? And is that a positive impact it's potentially driving or is driving, or is it more of a destructive impact?
I think it's a positive, and I think it's disruptive. Disruptive is not always negative, right? You can't view
Yeah.
it that way. Just because it's a disruptor, I don't think that's a negative. It's what do we do with the disruption and how do we implement that where we can? So a great example, that's a great question, Adrian. A great example is we're moving to a secondary. We're going to keep both BMS, TMS systems. And so we've got a global company that we're using for a few things just because they have a way better service offering, and we'll see where that goes. We literally are implementing that now, where it went live last week. And they have a bunch of AI components in there, which are really interesting. Some of the things it can help do is aggregate a bunch of data. And it's aggregating data in real time. It can give us certain pieces of information that are beneficial to us. Where it doesn't help us right now is sending out automatic updates. I mean, the systems all do that. We all know that systems do that, right? You're a tech guy. Systems can do that automatically when, you click the button internally and it's out for delivery. Okay. But what it can't do is know that Tim, the technician, is running an hour late and doesn't want that thing delivered, and he forgot to call. So these are the, you know what I'm saying? These are the gaps that are in there. So we're really interested as a company to be on the forefront of what AI can help with, and I think that we're going to learn a lot more over the next, let's just say this year. And there is a plan in 2025. We'll probably start it in, sometime around the holidays of really looking at what can we automate that makes sense for our customers and not bog them down with information that's either not real, not in real time. And the one thing we don't want to do in this industry is as white glove final mile bespoke offerings. We don't want anybody to call over here and ever feel like they're getting an AI response, right? Whether it's in an email, whether it's on the portal, or especially with a human. They're going to talk to a human is our big part of it. And that won't change probably as long as I'm here. So it's not going to change.
So it's a great accolade to giving that white glove treatment, right? Where you have the human always at the point with the customer. I guess that customer focus and making sure you have the highest quality service for those customers is great. But then from a balance sheet perspective, that's great for your revenue. What about your sort of cost items around operational processes? Because there's a lighter touch point with the customer, if any. Is that an area that maybe is ripe for a bit of automation using AI?
I would think so. I mean, there's obviously some things that so in the freight forwarding world, I mean, you're always getting charges. You're always verifying certain things, and a lot of that comes through the bane of everybody's existence, which is the thing called email. It's horrible, right? I mean, so the operations guys are dealing with 300 emails a day. How do you sort and segregate those? How do you prioritize those and those things? And listen, there's a lot of room for improvement with AI for that, right? On how we can respond, and even the things that we've beta tested internally with responses. So AI can take something, you open up the email and it suggests a reply where you don't even have to type it. You read it and click enter, and it's already sent. So yes, I've reviewed it. Maybe I changed 3 words to sound quote unquote more human. Listen, it's always learning. So it knows really how I'm doing stuff. And it's been interesting to see. I think, like I said, I think in 6 months, something like that's going to be huge. But you're right. Where can we optimize certain things? Getting charges and quotes are the bane of a freight forwarder's existence in the white glove world.
Right.
We all understand we work off of tariffs. We know how much, a basic delivery dock to dock costs because there's a tariff. But what do you do if it's, if I need 3 guys to go inside for 2 hours and I need to bring these 5 specialized tools and I have to have this specialized truck and, they get there and it doesn't fit in the elevator, the quote's out the window. So we have to have all these things beforehand, like site surveys and these things to help with all of that. But to your point, there's a very important part that's coming that is how do we automate what we can automate and focus on the customer side of it when we need to, right?
Yeah. Because often, I mean, from conversations I've had, often super experienced, highly skilled freight forwarders, for example, are often having to spend a lot of their time on the manual admin stuff when they should be focused, as you rightly said, on those customer interactions to maximize the value that customer gets from that service, I guess.
Agree. I mean, and one of the things that I'll highlight real quick is, and this is done with freight forwarders everywhere. I mean, I worked for one that's now $1 billion, right? A global freight forwarder.
Wow.
And it is the way that these companies do things is they'll get a customer service person to call the agents and get charges and do these things. Where the gap is knowing what that should cost. So follow me with this. So if I have somebody who drove 100 miles across Florida to go deliver something with two guys, and I get a rate back for $1,400 because it's from door to door and these kind of things, you get it. And there's certain aspects of that the operations people who are in it every single day and know what that should cost go, wait a second, that should have been, let's just say $800. Might not be the best example, but they quoted us where they come back with charges of 1,400, and now we know that it should be 800, but that low level, maybe hourly employee does not understand that there's a gap in there. So what happens is they put that in the software, it goes to accounting, and accounting doesn't catch it. So you
Right.
want to talk about leakage, right? You want to talk about, or slippage, I guess, right? That money's slipping away. There has to be a way to check that. And I think AI is going to be helping with that. I think that it's going to look at the common threads that are in there, and then it can highlight it to that person and say, wait a second, you put this in here at 1,400. It should have been closer to 825. Call them back or escalate it, right?
It's a great, I mean, it's a great point, and I've had conversations before where with guys on the podcast who have found that same problem, sort of mispricing of various things or calculating the cost. And maybe if there were those checks, that those things would be caught. You're right. It's a great point. Looking back on your growth, say over the last 12 to 18 months, what have been the key challenges, Jeremy, for LDK in their growth journey, and how have you overcome those?
And the challenges right now are global, right? It's the U.S. tariffs, and I think a lot of it's going to shake out. To be honest, we really didn't see any effects from that until about April. Started seeing it a little bit, and so I went to the largest commercial AV integration conference in the world. And that was the first time, and I'm talking to high level sales guys, high level procurement people who are running procurement for an organization. And they're telling me that they're in that industry, they're doing one of two things. They're buying everything they possibly can on the planet and storing it for 2 years because they don't know what's going to happen, which I have two customers that are doing that now. And so they're buying up everything because they're trying to hedge the bet that it's a smart decision. Or listen, they're just holding off. So I have a top 5 financial company, and so they're a global company. My customer is the AV integrator.
Right.
Their customer is that financial institution, and they are really struggling with what to pull the trigger on to do because they don't know what is going to happen with the tariffs and what's going to happen. So obviously they're a financial company. If they have people change the way that they're running their finances, meaning mainly companies, then they want to hedge the bet correctly. So it's a little bit tricky with that. The things that where we can help with is, I mean, everybody looks at the freight costs last. It's really a bad plan. I mean, so if you think about it from a whole, so my goal is always I guess the primary objective is to enhance that team's productivity, right? So if it's the project management team, well, listen, we want to become an extension of them and enhance their productivity, believing that their team should not have to really invest time in performing tasks that are our job, right? And we see it all the time. So when I go into, say, McDonald's again, we'll use the same name, and their company, their folks, their project managers, their account managers are managing tracking freight, are managing freight issues, are managing claims. Why are they doing all that, right? Those are the areas where we can really help. And I think that's really what gives, a nimble company like ours an edge up, because it's like, listen, it's the question I always ask. What are you doing currently that is a logistics task that you think you shouldn't do? What can you pass to us? And I understand it's a trust thing,
Yeah.
but where can we get to that trust level that says, hey, don't worry, we've got this. If there's a problem, if that guy's going to be late, we're going to tell you before you find out. You're not going to log into some portal or have your guys standing there with their hands in their pockets. So this is how, I'm giving back ROI. If I quote something, I'm rarely the cheapest. But where your ROI is we're there when we say we're going to be there, and we're going to do the task we say that we're going to do, and it's going to take that off of your guys. And I think that's probably how we've gained, listen, I know specifically with 3 fairly large customers, that's exactly how we got in, is the ability to help shoulder those pains, right? So, I mean, people have to look at stuff. The common mindset is to look at logistics as a cost per transaction, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably not the best plan, right? I mean, so my friend in another tech company coined the phrase risk erodes value. So if you think about risk erodes value, so the more risk you have, listen, you call somebody like us, it's the one throat to choke model, and we can help bring some of that value back because there's a risk it's going to be late. There's a risk it doesn't fit in the elevator. There's a risk the COI is not correct. But when you have a company like ours that micromanages every aspect of that and is dealing with not just the customer, but your customer, the sites of take 30 Rock in New York, right? Or One Penn Plaza, right? Which has federal stuff in it. Take all of those things into account. We know that there's federal in One Penn Plaza. So we know that we have to have X people to get in there. Those are the things that you can't translate to a tariff. You can't translate to a $20 an hour customer service person. You just can't.
Right. Right. I mean, that's mitigation, I guess, for that risk that you guys offer.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it is. And it's what gives us really, how do we help you as the customer gain a competitive advantage over the next guys? It's let your project managers project manage and deal with everything they have to deal with. Let us handle all your logistics.
Awesome.
Simple.
Fascinating viewpoint. Thanks, Jeremy. So looking forwards then, and looking at what LDK Logistics have on their horizon from a growth trajectory, what are the key milestones over, say, the next 12 to 18 months that you guys are looking at?
Listen, over the next 12 months, it's the growth on the freight forwarding side without exception. So they've actually grown the broker side a little bit because of some stuff I was able to help bring in. But we're really concentrated on the freight forwarding side and, how we can help really North American brands succeed. So there's a bunch in Canada. There's a bunch of stuff in Canada, and obviously there's a little tariff fight going on there. So it's been some interesting conversations with that. But listen, we're all just trying to help our companies grow and succeed and find the right customers that fit what we want. Right? I don't want every customer. Not every customer is for us. We want the right ones, and those are the ones that we can try and grow with. Right? And in those spaces I mentioned in the beginning, that's really our focus. We might expand to a couple of others that we're looking at. I mean, anything emerging tech, I love, right? So, I mean, anything from all the SpaceX stuff and all the Blue Origin stuff to Eve, we need to go after some of that.
Sure.
So how do we grow those markets is really where we're going to go. And listen, the freight forwarding thing barely existed on this side when we started, and the growth pattern there, I mean, we've hired a couple people. I expect we're going to hire probably 2 more come January. And so we'll grow that. And if you're growing like that, you've got to have the revenue to bring it in. Like I said, I mean, in 2026, we should do $3.5 to $4.5 million in revenue. And it'll have been going for 18 months by then, right? So we'll grow it to that. And I mean, we'll do well over $2 million this year. I mean, it's just, and listen, it was slow for the remainder of last year into February. Everybody's trying to figure out the election, right? I mean, it was a massive deal. So we'll see where that goes.
Awesome. I mean, that sounds really exciting. It sounds like you guys are on the right track. So that's fabulous. And hopefully to help you in that journey, for those guys out there watching and listening and want to find out more about LDK Logistics, where can they go, Jeremy, to get that information?
Sure. I mean, so you can find us at ldklogistics.com. Obviously, you can look and find anything you want on there. So we're based in Denver, Colorado. You can find me on LinkedIn. I mean, first name, last name. I'm in Texas. It's real easy to find me. But all of our information is on the website there. It's a great place to go. I'd love to chat to anybody who wants to look at something like that.
Fabulous. Well, listen, I'll make sure that we include all of those links into the description of this podcast. So for those guys out there, feel free to get in touch with Jeremy and LDK at your ease. So listen, Jeremy, thank you so much for your great insights. It's been really helpful and really informative. And for those guys out there listening and watching, thank you for joining. We will see you in the next episode of the AI Ripple Effect podcast. So for now, Jeremy, thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, Adrian. Appreciate it a lot. Thanks.